And finally, the impeachment train is leaving the station. This is actually very important. I've alluded to it at various times on the podcast, but here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's announced impeachment articles against Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, Alejandro Mayorkas, and even going further down, Matthew Graves, who's the chief prosecutor of the January 6 defendants. And, to me, this is actually a really good development because it follows through on the logic of what's going on. I mean, what was disappointing to me about the Durham report, an elaborate scheme concocted by the Hillary campaign, signed off on by Obama, signed off on by Loretta Lynch, James Comey was in on it, Clapper was in on it, Brennan was in on it, all these top officials, really to rig an election. And then at the end of it, he goes, well, we really hope that the FBI improves its procedures. So that's called not following through on what you've just shown, on what you've just confirmed. But here, if it is true that these people are derelict in their duties, they are ruining the country on multiple fronts, they are breaking the law, they're engaging in some cases in serious crimes, obviously we should do what we can to impeach them. Well, the impeachment won't succeed. Well, who cares? The point is it'll tie them up. It will tie them up in knots. It will expose their crimes and lawlessness to public scrutiny. There's no way the media can cover it. So what do you make of this? So you were saying about Biden.
Right. So, it's great that she wants to do this with Biden, but the reason that she's putting forth is the border, right? Which is a huge reason, but I don't think that that's the reason that they could really get him on, that impeach him on.
That's not the arrow.
That's not the arrow. The arrow is that this man is as corrupt as a third world dictator. He is a true dictator. They talk about Trump having been a dictator. Well, if he was, he sucked at it. This guy's really good at it, because he involves all of the agencies that can actually implement these things, like Hugo Chavez did, like Maduro did. And so, did Trump have a DOJ?
No.
Did Trump have the FBI? No. So how could he have been a dictator?
I mean, Trump, in fact, had, it seems, half the government working to subvert him.
Exactly.
And Biden, on the other hand, has the entire Democratic establishment covering for him.
And that is a true dictatorship. That is a true dictatorship. So
what would you? So you'd go after him on the IRS whistleblower. You'd go after him on all the money transfers,
China corruption. Getting money during his vice presidency. Who knows what if he used the office of the vice presidency to do these things? What makes you think he's not using the office of the presidency?
And it doesn't matter whether or not he's repeating the crimes of before. The fact of the matter is we have a criminal at the highest reaches of government, and that's not something that should be tolerated for 1 minute. A lot of times, I mean, if you look at Nixon's offenses that got Nixon to resign in Watergate, it wasn't while Nixon was president. Remember, this was during the campaign, the Watergate break-in. So, and Nixon's only role was in the cover-up. Nixon wasn't, in fact, the perpetrator.
Right. I think that this makes Watergate look like a walk in the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is what you call corruption.
Now, as these things develop next week, I'm going to go into detail in this stuff because I think, for example, when Marjorie Taylor Greene lays out the case against Christopher Wray, it is very systematic and very devastating, and it makes the case. So we won't make that case here because she's making a separate case. I mean, think about it, the case against Mayorkas, and I agree, but Mayorkas, I think you can go after him on the border alone. Why? He's the chief border official.
Right.
Charged with enforcing the law.
Right. Now, he is taking orders, right?
He is taking orders,
but still, I mean, I think that...
Well, it doesn't matter if he's taking orders. Yes, what that means, because he is the guy in charge with carrying out these duties, and he's taken an oath of office to carry out these duties, it's his duty to say, my superiors are telling me not to enforce the law. he won't do that because he's
in on it.
He's in on it. Exactly.
Yes.
And this guy is also, by the way, a brazen liar. So with a straight face, he goes there and says things like the border is secure.
Oh, yeah.
There's no problem at the border.
And he takes credit for things that, like, for example, Governor Abbott, making sure that the illegal migrants couldn't get up that ravine, where he had the barbed wire and they were kind of shooshing people off, right? Mayorkas says it's him. And actually, it was not him. It was not the federal government doing that.
In fact, Abbott has made it really clear that the Texas National Guard is up against not the illegals, not the cartels. They're up against the feds.
Yes.
They're up against the Biden
government.
People who are trying to undo and thwart what they're doing. So there's a level of public dishonesty that's going on here. And they kept saying, well, Trump told, 810,000 lies and so on. By and large, they'd refer to casual remarks about Trump, even if Trump mispronounces Thailand. Well, let's count that as a lie. Here you're talking about lies coming from the very spokesman for the State Department, spokesman for the DOJ, the press secretary, and of course, Kamala Harris and Biden himself.